Thank you so much.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. All right, I'm on this side of the stage.
Oh, I'll take this
He's going to be
one.
on that side, and
right.
I get the remote. I'm just saying.
So in the first year after you hire somebody, what percentage of people leave in a year on average in the United States? Take a guess. Leave.
80, 90, 30. Who said 30? You get a star.
You get a star. You may leave now if you want to.
It's 30%.
About 30%. In the first 3 months, how many leave in the first 3 months? Of those 30%, how many leave in the first 3 months? 90 days of employment.
90, 50?
About 68%.
How much is leave and how much is fired?
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
There's good turnover and bad turnover, right?
They say leave. The statistics said statistically leave, so I think it could be you, possibly. So that's a good clarification.
But the main reason we're here is,
Well, so what we're going to do today is, and because the reason we picked this topic was, as we've been coaching, we coach all over the world, and we see that what we're talking about today is most prevalent, and it's attracting great team members. It's how do we engage them so that we're not part of that statistic that Pete just said, and then how do we make sure we retain them? Because Pete's going to give you another statistic.
what do you think it costs in terms of annual salary if you lose an hourly employee? From the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Across the United States, if I lose an hourly employee, let's say they make $50,000 a year, what does it cost me to lose that person, to have that turnover? Percentage-wise?
40%? Any other guesses?
It's about 20% of their annual pay, minimum, okay? In terms of trading time and wasted time and money. What about a salaried employee? What do you think the cost of turnover, salaried employee, manager, leader, CFO?
What percent?
What percent? It's higher, it's 30%, 35%.
So what we want you to walk away with today is we're going to talk about a lot of different ideas, strategies, case studies. This is what works, this is what doesn't. If you can walk away with one or two things that will help you bring down your statistic and make you money because of it, then we've done our job. So first, why don't we explain a little bit about who we are, Pete?
So Peg and I are business coaches. I'm a recovering engineer. I spent 20 years managing unionized chemical plants. Business coaching is a whole lot more fun than that. I have 3 kids, 3 adult kids, David, Ben, and Emily. And David asked me once when he was about 8 years old, what do you do all day, Dad? Well, it's a union plant, so I can't touch anything. But basically what I did is talk to people all day long so they did the right thing in the right way at the right time for the right reasons. If they did that well, then we didn't have a fire, explosion, gas release, or an injury, or maybe 2 or 3 of those at once. And I kept my job. And this is fun. We do this all over the country, as Peg said, and we've been partners for 13 years.
And so I ran radio stations. So anybody ever hear of iHeartRadio? iHeartRadio. So I was in charge of big sales teams, big stations, and I ended up not knowing Pete at the time. I bought an Action Coach franchise, which is what it is, and he had bought it. We ended up joining practices together in Columbus, and this was, I'm 14 years as a coach. 13 years ago we came together. We now have a firm. And one of the things we wanted to show you is some of the awards. And we did this, was anybody on the webinar with us by any chance? Raise your hand.
A few of you.
A few of you. We talked about this and we said we want to talk a little bit about our clients' successes. We help them succeed. The reason we have this up here, we're not going to go through all that, is what we're telling you works. What we're telling you we're doing. What we're telling you, people just like you are doing the exact same processes, procedures, and ideas. So we want you to get your notebook, paper, and pen, and ready to go. All right.
Here we go.
So first we're going to talk about attracting. Remember the first part, we're going to talk about attracting, engaging, and retaining. So first we're going to talk about attracting.
So we all have plans to get more customers, more clients in your business, right? Everybody's got some sort of marketing activity to bring those in. What we're suggesting is that you put as much thought and effort into bringing in new employees and constantly have a plan that your key people know of how you're going to bring people into the company. And we like to have folks think about multiple ways, not just one or two, and use multiple methods to bring people into the company. And some may work one year and some may work better the other year. And use your employees, your key people, your managers, even your hourly employees should be constantly looking for folks. Peg is putting up something which she'll explain in a minute. Now there's a person with no arms on the right.
Maybe I'll put a person with some arms. How's that? Okay. So what Pete was saying is, how many people by show of hands have a marketing plan to get new customers in your door? Congratulations, congratulations. That is unusual, believe it or not. Most people don't have that, so great. Now, how many people, by a show of hands, have a marketing plan to get your employees in through the door? A lot less hands. You need to treat and attract employees with a marketing plan, and I'm going to teach you how to put a marketing plan together in less than 2 minutes. There's this thing called a 10 by 10. I just drew it, and some of you can't see it. It's a person on a diving board with rods. Steel rods to keep it up, meaning that we need to create 10 different marketing strategies. Each strategy ideally would be 10% of your leads. So give me a strategy that you've used in order to attract a great employee. Anybody, shout out one.
That's worked for you.
Money.
Money. To your employees, a reward.
Yes.
So referral, and paying them. Anybody use LinkedIn?
Yes.
Okay, so you get what we're doing. What you want to do is build your marketing plan based on strategies that first you know work. Then you test and measure along the way. Now you can say, Peg and Pete, 10 is too many. That seems like a lot to handle different strategies, and that might be the case. If so, what you do is you can do 5. You can do 5 strategies in 20%. So what this means is you would have 5 different marketing strategies. Each strategy ideally would give you 20% of your leads to equal 100. If you have 10 different marketing strategies, that would be each strategy representing 10% of your leads. What we want you to do is we want you to write it down. We want you to have it proactive. And we need you to put as much time into this strategy consistently so that you're constantly attracting people. This is not, we need a person, let's place an ad. So you'll see one of here is, are you always hiring? The answer is yes. You're always marketing, even if you don't need someone. And you're telling everybody, hey, we're growing, we're hiring. Hey, we're growing, we're hiring. Your managers are meeting with people, referrals, consistently, once a month minimum if you're not hiring. I'm going to meet with a potential candidate. I'm going to have a file.
Having breakfast with somebody.
Having breakfast with
Lunch.
someone.
Some of our clients have company videos. If you look up the Cleary Company, Remodeler in Columbus, Ohio, has a very nice company video so potential employees can click on their website and see interviews of the owner and some of the employees talking about what it's like to work for George's company. Paul J. Ford is another one where you can go and look at their website.
Go to their website. Both of these, when we've been coaching them, we did this first thing. It's again, attract. You are competing against the marketplace out there. You have to sell yourself. Make sure your video sells you. And it doesn't have to be complicated, and it does not have to be expensive. It has to be something, though. And then remember this, the checklist. You want to talk a little bit?
Well, the other key thing is target market. If you're hiring for hourly employees, you've got certain characteristics that a great hourly employee would have in that role. Project manager might be somewhat different characteristics. Somebody on customer service who's answering the telephone or doing outgoing calls may have different characteristics. But get the key people, maybe the successful people in those roles in your current firm, to jot down those attributes or characteristics that would be required for somebody in that role. And we want to get that crystal clear before you start spending money on marketing. It could save you some bucks.
It'll depend where you, obviously you need to know your target market before you start creating your marketing strategies. Just like you do for your customers, you do the same thing for your employees. So that's first, that was a really quick rundown of a marketing plan. Remember, 5 by 10, what was it, a 10 by 10, right? Or a 5, what?
Or 20.
Thank you, very good. Hey, listen, I need stars.
That's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
outstanding. Oh, that's okay.
Positive reinforcement.
That's
Good.
okay. So now that we've talked a little bit about marketing and attracting and always hiring, I have to tell you, with one company we were coaching, we went in and we said this. Does anybody have a company where you're hiring designers? A little challenge, isn't it? Designers, carpenters.
I had to use a search firm for the last one.
You are not alone. This is a true story. So I'm going to tell you what happened. A true case study. So we were hiring 2 designers, 1 production manager, growing company obviously, a couple carpenters. And we're having a devil of a time, right? So one of the things we did is we finally ended up doing it. It took us a long time. And I said, we're never going to be in that position again. We are never going to be in that position where we're behind the 8 ball. We all agreed and we created a plan. It was going to be based on referrals. We're going to always be hiring. So that whole year, we did our plan. We went out and had lunches. We went out and met with people, went to NARI place. We went everywhere. And so now we have 2 designers open, and guess what? We hired them just like that because they were in our funnel already. We're always hiring. We're going to keep you there. We're growing. I want things to be in your funnel so that when you're hiring, it's there. that we're not behind the 8 ball. And guess what happens when we're behind the 8 ball and we don't have people to put in positions? What do we do with the people that we have there?
More pressure.
Yes, we stress them out. And we put up with behavior because we don't want them to quit. Oh my God, I just don't want you to quit. Okay, so you're late. You know, we get held hostage. So this is a priority of attracting. If you can walk away with anything, make this a priority, creating your marketing plan. So now, Pete, we're talking a little bit about, now we've attracted people, what is our recommended interviewing process?
So what are some of the things that we want to cover when we're trying to interview? What we like to look at it as, it's not a selection process, it's a deselection process. So we're weeding people out. Part of it is to help you save time, because how valuable is your own personal time in your business? It's a lot. Hundreds of dollars an hour if you spend too much time on one activity. So this process will help you to streamline that down to where you can reduce the amount of time it takes to hire people. We like to do phone screening. It depends on the job. If it's somebody that's in a customer service role or answering the phone or a lot of customer contact, you want to make sure they can talk to people. So we'll have them call into a voicemail and check whether or not how they sound over the phone. Are they happy to be talking to another human being? You've met people that aren't, right? There are a few out there. Some of the other things we want to make sure we do is to ask open-ended questions all the time. Why do we do that? Get them to tell us a story.
And so the reason it says 4 hour up here on the display here on the slides is we're very busy. We have to hire often. The process we're talking about, it should take about 4 hours of your time. Total. Could you imagine? So now that doesn't count marketing the people. We want to market the people once we have them in here. Like Pete said, we're going to either screen it. You determine and customize the screening. We have a screening process, which is a voicemail that they call into. So we had done this. We did this with one remodeler, Pete. And at first it seems a little weird. Like when we finish telling you this, you're going to be like, well, this is unusual. So we ended up doing a voicemail that said, thank you for calling ABC Construction. We are currently hiring in blah, blah, blah position. This is what we need. If you're the person we're looking for, this is a couple things we need you to have. Boom, 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 boom. If you could please take a minute to answer the following 3 questions. What gets you up in the morning? Why did you apply for the job, and why would you be the best person in this position? So it's a voicemail. The voicemail, it's a deselection. If people don't want to leave a message, then we don't want them.
Some of the great candidates will hang up, jot down some great answers, and then call back and leave really good answers. Those are great candidates.
Now we had the one remodeler, the ABC remodeler. He was very nervous. Bill, his name was Bill, and he's like, I don't know that I want to do this. Well, they had somebody call up on the voicemail and said, and I promise I won't curse, I don't want to offend anyone, but they say, this bleeping process, bleep, 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 you. And he hung up, and so Bill comes to us and says, oh my God, I might have hired that person unless I really saw his true colors, where he's leaving this very angry voicemail with us. It's a deselection. You're starting to deselect on your time. That's a screening tool. Then when we bring them together,
The big key of the process is a group interview. We like to bring candidates, regardless of level. It could be a general manager, it could be a superintendent, it could be somebody in the office, a CFO, is bring them in together, have the owner of the business or the general manager of the business describe the culture. What is the history of the company within 5 minutes or so? Roughly, how did we get started? What's important to us? Then the next thing would be to describe the job itself. What are the things that this person is responsible for? What are some of the things that you'd be measured on when you're successful? Here's the things that you would be achieving. And then also describe what it's like to work there. The next thing we do, and generally we have one of our coaches, would be asking questions so that the owner of the company, the president of the company, a supervisor that would be managing this person once they're successfully in the business, probably a peer, and sometimes we have people that might report to that individual, act as a hiring team. So they'd be observing and responding and taking notes on the questions. But we'll ask the same people all 5 or 6 of the questions. So they'll, again, open-ended questions like, tell me about a conflict you have with a customer and how did it get resolved?
and to clarify, we have other candidates for that position in this process.
Right.
So it's not unusual to have maybe 5 people that are going for the same position, and then you might have 6 people in your company there, so there'll be 11 people. The process takes about an hour interview, and like to your point, you have to ask questions that are specific to an experience so that they can't copy each other's answers, and they all answer the same question at one time.
At the end of approximately an hour, we've got a really good handle on what this group of people's like. We've got half a dozen or so, or maybe 8 people in the room. There's usually 2 or 3 of them that you can agree they're not candidates. Go ahead.
Just to clarify,
Please.
so you have all the candidates in the room at the same time?
Yes.
But they're all hearing each other's answers?
Yes.
They are. Yes.
And that's why
And
people
we'll-
get a little squirmish, like, this seems unfair, this seems like you're putting them on the spot. We've had people say, well, I feel like they're in a, what do you call that, a firing squad? What is that called where you're?
Firing squad.
Yeah, firing squad. And we said, no, that is not the point of this. It is a very comfortable environment, but it can be stressful. We want to see how they do under stress, but it's not, it's actually less stressful than the candidates because they're not on the spot one-on-one. It's easier for them.
It gives them a little time to compose themselves and think. They do get to see how other people are responding to things. So they do get a chance to